The sun had not yet risen, and the world was draped in silence. A silence broken only by the rustling of tall grasses and the distant, haunting cries of predators echoing across the open savanna. 2 million years ago, this land was both cradle and grave, a place where life struggled with death in an eternal balance. In the shadows of acacia trees, a small family of Homo habilis stirred. They were not the strongest creatures of this land. They did not have the speed of the cheetah, nor the size of the elephant, nor the teeth of the lion. Yet they possessed something else, a spark, a fragile intelligence, raw but growing, that whispered survival in a dangerous world. The leader of this small group, a male with strong arms scarred from past encounters, rose from his sleeping place. Around him, his mate and their offspring huddled close, still clinging to warmth in the cool dawn. His dark eyes scanned the horizon, searching, always searching, for threats. For in this land, danger was never far. The grasses moved not from wind, but from life hidden within. The scent of something heavy lingered, the smell of predator. The Homo habilis stiffened, his nostrils flaring as instinct told him to listen. His mate clutched their child close, eyes wide. From the distance came a sound, low, guttural, ancient, the sound of giant predators. The dawn hunt. The Homo habilis family knew they had little time. Dawn was both a blessing and a curse. Light brought safety from the terrors of night, yet morning also roused the hunters. The great cats, lions larger and more powerful than the lions of today, stirred with hunger. Packs of hyenas, stronger and more brutal, moved in restless search. And somewhere beyond the hills, the thunder of giant predators, saber-tooths, shook the earth with promise of death. The leader gestured with his hands, urging his family to rise and move. Their survival depended on constant motion, on never staying long enough to become prey. Slowly, they slipped into the tall grasses, moving low, silent, their bodies blending with the land. They moved toward a grove where trees grew thick, offering shelter. Along the way, they searched for food, berries clinging to low bushes, roots buried deep in dry soil, and if fortune favored them, small creatures slow enough to catch. But luck was rare here. For every fruit or insect found, predators claimed a dozen lives. As they moved, the family's youngest, a child barely able to walk steady, stumbled. His small cry pierced the air like a sharp blade. The leader froze, every muscle tense. Silence. For a moment, the world stopped. Then, from behind them, came the unmistakable sound of movement. A predator. Stalking. The first encounter. The grasses parted. Yellow eyes glowed. A lioness, larger than any modern lioness, emerged, her body low, muscles rippling beneath golden fur. Her gaze locked on the family, her tail twitching in rhythm with her hunger. The leader of Homo habilis stood tall, though he was dwarfed by her. He gripped a crude stone, sharp-edged, broken from river rock. It was not much, but it was hope. He raised it high, shouting, his voice raw and guttural. His mate joined, screaming, beating her hands against her chest, waving branches in desperate fury. The lioness paused. For prey to roar back was unusual. Her ears flicked. She circled, testing, watching. The child cried again. The lioness's gaze snapped to the sound. She crouched, muscles coiled. And then, movement from the side. A second lion emerged, this one a male with a heavy mane, his teeth bared. The family was trapped between them, predator to the front, predator to the back. The leader's heart thundered. Survival was thin as air now. With sudden fury, he hurled the stone at the lioness. It struck her flank, not enough to wound, but enough to startle. She snarled, her eyes flashing, but she hesitated. The male lion growled, stepping closer. The Homo habilis beat the ground with sticks, screaming with all the force of life itself. The family pressed tight together, a wall of fragile flesh facing death. And then, salvation in chaos. From the far side, a pack of hyenas appeared, drawn by the cries. Dozens of them cackling, their jaws snapping with hunger. The lions snarled at the intrusion. Predator turned against predator. The family seized the chance, darting into the trees, vanishing into shadows, their hearts pounding with the rhythm of survival. Moments of rest. By mid-morning, the family reached the grove. Safe, for now. They settled beneath a tree, exhausted but alive. The leader sat with heavy breaths, his eyes scanning, always scanning. The child curled against his mother, whimpering softly, comforted by touch. The leader turned a stone in his hand, his mind restless. That stone, so simple, so crude, had given them a moment's chance. A moment between life and death. And in his mind, something stirred. A thought, raw but powerful. Stone protects. It was the faint echo of innovation, the birth of something greater than instinct. The shadow of giants. But peace never lasted long. From beyond the grove, the sound came again. Heavier than lions, deeper than hyenas. A sound that carried weight through the ground. The family froze, their eyes widening. Through the grasslands moved a giant predator. A saber-toothed cat, its massive body rippling with muscle, its long, curved fangs glinting in the sun. Its presence was like a shadow across the land, a beast older and more terrible than anything else. The Homo habilis huddled close, their breaths shallow. They dared not move, dared not make a sound, for against such a beast no stone or scream could save them. The saber-tooth passed, its golden eyes scanning, nostrils flaring. The earth held its breath until at last the predator moved on, its shadow fading into distance. Only then did the family breathe again. Nightfall. As the day ended, the family found themselves once more seeking safety. Night was death. To survive, they climbed into the lower branches of a tree, huddling close, their small bodies trembling against the cold wind. Beneath them, the world came alive with predators. Hyenas cackled in the darkness. Lions roared. And somewhere, deep in the night, the saber-tooth screamed. A sound of ancient hunger that split the silence and shook their bones. The family clung to each other, their eyes wide, staring into the endless dark. Tomorrow they would face it again. For this was life 2 million years ago. A fragile existence, where every dawn was a battle and every night a prayer. Thus began the struggle of Homo habilis against the giants of their world. They were not the strongest, not the fastest, and not the fiercest. But they were the survivors. And in their hands, within the sharp edge of stone, lay the first whisper of a future yet to come. The first light of day crept across the savanna, washing the land in pale gold. The tall grasses swayed in the cool breeze, whispering like countless voices from the earth itself. Dew clung to every blade, sparkling like stars scattered across the ground. In the branches of their chosen tree, the family of Homo habilis stirred awake. Their bodies ached from the hard wood, their skin chilled by the night's wind. Yet they were alive, and for them, survival was victory. The leader descended first, testing the air with cautious eyes. He paused, listening. The savanna was deceptively calm. But he knew better. This calm was never peace. It was a silence that often hid predators. He sniffed the air, searching for scent, then gestured softly with his hand. One by one, the others climbed down. His mate with the child, another younger male, perhaps a brother, and 2 females from their kin. They were not a tribe, not yet, just a fragile band clinging to one another, surviving as one breath, one body. The child, restless from hunger, reached for something in the grass. A beetle crawling lazily. The leader let him eat. Small nourishment, but enough to calm the gnawing emptiness. Hunger was a constant here, always clawing at their bellies, always reminding them that death did not only come with fangs and claws. The search for food. The morning hours were precious, Predators often retreated after the frenzy of night. For Homo habilis, this was the time to forage, to gather before the world's killers woke fully. The group moved along a dry riverbed, their bare feet sinking into soft earth. The leader's sharp eyes searched the banks for tubers or roots. His mate found berries, their bitter taste unfamiliar but edible. One of the females struck at a termite mound with a stick, scooping wriggling insects onto a flat stone. The child laughed, crunching on the insects with delight. His joy, fleeting as it was, brought a warmth to the group. They shared in silence, eating what little they found. Each small victory against hunger kept them alive another day. But food was never gathered without risk. From the ridge above, shadows moved. A small group of giant baboons, fierce territorial creatures with long canines, descended. Their faces twisted in snarls, their calls echoing through the air. The leader stiffened. Baboons were not like lions or hyenas. They did not simply hunt for meat. They attacked for dominance, for control. The Homo habilis backed away, clutching their gathered food. The baboons charged, throwing stones and sticks, their teeth flashing. The family scattered, heartbeats pounding like drums. The leader shielded his child, pulling him close. The baboons chased, but not far. They seized the gathered roots and berries, shrieking in victory, their laughter ringing cruel across the land. The family, hungry again, crouched in the grass, their hard-won food gone in moments. But the leader's eyes did not dim. He looked at the rock still in his hand, sharp-edged and jagged. A thought pressed deeper. Stone can take back what is stolen. As the day grew warmer, the savanna awakened fully. Herds of antelope moved across the plain, their hooves drumming a steady rhythm. Birds darted overhead, their wings flashing silver in the sun. But where there was prey, predators followed. From a distance, the leader spotted them first, a pride of lions, their golden bodies blending with the grasses. Larger than modern lions, their shoulders were heavy, their eyes sharp. They stalked the herds, waiting, patient as the earth itself. The Homo habilis family crouched low, watching. They knew better than to approach. Yet they also knew what lions left behind. Scraps of meat, bones rich with marrow, flesh too tough for even great predators. The leader's gaze lingered. He thought of his family's empty stomachs. He thought of the child's laughter, now quiet. He pointed, grunting softly, signaling. The others understood. They would follow, not to hunt, but to scavenge. They crept along the edge of the grasses, silent shadows. The lions moved like golden ghosts, circling the herd. And then, chaos. The lions charged, roaring, their massive bodies slamming into the antelope. Dust rose. Screams filled the air. Blood stained the earth. The lions feasted, tearing flesh, their jaws cracking bone. The Homo habilis waited, hearts pounding, watching the predators devour. Only when the lions grew lazy, bellies full, did the family approach. Cautious, careful, they scavenged quickly, pulling at scraps left behind. A rib here, a strip of hide there. The leader cracked a bone with his stone, sucking the marrow with desperate hunger. The taste of blood was raw, metallic, but it gave strength. One lifted its head, eyes narrowing, lips curling. A low growl rolled through the air. The leader froze, stone in hand, body trembling. The lion rose slowly, its mane bristling, its muscles tightening. Then, salvation again, cruel and chaotic. From the distance came the cackling laughter of hyenas, a pack drawn by the scent of blood. Dozens of them, bold and fearless, running straight toward the feast. The lions turned, snarling, fury ignited. Predator clashed with predator, the air alive with roars and screams. The Homo habilis seized the chance, retreating with scraps clutched to their chests. They ran, weaving through grass, their feet pounding. Behind them, the battle of giants raged, each predator tearing for dominance. The family vanished into safety, breathless, their mouths stained with blood but their stomachs less empty. By midday, the heat pressed heavy. The savannah shimmered in waves of fire. The family moved toward water, driven by thirst. The river lay ahead, wide and slow, its banks thick with reeds. Relief washed over them. The child ran forward, splashing with laughter. But the leader knew rivers were never safe. He scanned the water. Too quiet. Then, with terrifying speed, the surface broke. A massive shape surged upward, a crocodile, its jaws snapping shut with bone-crushing force. Water exploded in white foam. The child screamed as the leader lunged, pulling him back just as the jaws closed where he had stood. The crocodile's golden eyes locked on them, its tail whipping the water. The family scrambled back, hearts racing. The river that promised life also promised death. They moved upstream, cautious. There, in shallows, they found a safer crossing. The leader waded first, stone in hand, scanning every ripple. One by one, the others crossed. The child clung to his mother, eyes wide, staring at the water as though monsters lurked beneath every shadow. When they reached the far bank, the leader exhaled. They were safe. For now. As they moved along the far side of the river, the grasses grew still. The air felt heavy. The leader paused, every instinct screaming. Moving with silent grace, its body low, muscles rolling with power. A saber-toothed cat. Its massive fangs glinted, curved like daggers, its eyes locked with primal hunger. Even lions feared this beast. Against it there was no defense. The leader raised his stone, his heart thundering, though he knew it was useless. His mate clutched the child, trembling. The beast crept closer, every step deliberate, every breath promising death. And then, salvation once more, cruel in its unpredictability. From the river behind them came a sudden splash, a wildebeest herd crossing, their hooves thrashing water. The saber-tooth's eyes snapped to the sound. Hunger weighed decision. With a low growl, it turned from the family, vanishing into the chaos of the herd. They huddled together, pressing close for warmth. The day's terrors hung heavy, but they were alive. The leader turned the stone in his hand again. He studied its edge, its sharpness, the way it had cracked the bone, the way it had threatened predators. The family slept uneasy, the cries of lions, hyenas, and saber-tooths echoing into the night. Above them, the stars burned eternal, watching silently as fragile humans clung to existence against the giants of their age. 2 million years ago, survival was never guaranteed. Every dawn was battle. Every night was fear. Yet, within the hearts of Homo habilis, a fire was growing. The first flicker of invention. The first step toward becoming something greater than prey. The new day crept slowly across the land. A veil of mist lay low over the river, curling like smoke as the sun rose beyond the horizon. The grass shimmered with dew, but the beauty was fragile. A mask over danger. The family of Homo habilis stirred from their rocky shelter. Sleep had been shallow. Their dreams were full of roars, screams, and the remembered flash of saber-tooth fangs. The child clung to his mother, his stomach growling louder than his voice. Hunger was worse this morning. The scraps of meat from the lions were long gone. Their bodies ached with weakness. The leader rose, stretching, his eyes scanning the mist. He could feel the tension in the air, a silence that warned of hunters. This was not just another day. This was a test, one that could mean life or extinction. The scavengers gamble. The group moved along the river's edge, searching. Small tracks in the mud caught the leader's eye. Antelope. Perhaps they had crossed nearby. Perhaps a carcass lay abandoned, if predators had already fed. They followed the trail. The air smelled of iron, sharp and pungent. Then they saw it, a wildebeest carcass, half-eaten, its ribs torn open. Flies swarmed thick around it. The family's eyes widened. Meat. Precious meat. They rushed forward, pulling at scraps, biting into raw flesh. The taste was foul, but hunger made it sweet. The child gnawed on a tendon, his face smeared with blood. But the feast had not gone unnoticed. Across the riverbank a shape stirred in the mist. At first it looked like a fallen tree, dark and heavy. Then it moved. The log sprouted legs, a tail, and golden eyes. A giant crocodile. The beast slid into the water without sound, ripples spreading. It moved toward them, its body a shadow beneath the surface. The leader froze. His instincts screamed. He shouted, waving his arms, driving the others back. The family stumbled away from the riverbank, clutching scraps in their hands. The crocodile lunged, jaws snapping shut on the carcass with terrifying force. Bone shattered like brittle twigs. The sound echoed across the savannah. The family watched from a distance, breathless, their food once again stolen. The leader's hand tightened around his stone. Again, he saw the truth. The world was full of giants. But stone could make them equal. The hyena's laughter. The family pressed inland, seeking safety. But safety was an illusion. As they crossed a plain of yellow grass, the air filled with a sound that chilled them more than any roar. Laughter, hyenas, dozens of them. Their bodies slinked low, their eyes glowing with hunger. They encircled the Homo habilis, their cackles rising in waves, mocking, taunting. The leader stepped forward, stone in hand, baring his teeth in defiance. He shouted, a raw sound, primal and furious. The hyenas edged closer. Their jaws could crack bone. Their numbers could overwhelm lions. Against them, the family was nothing. The pack lunged. The leader swung his stone, striking one across the muzzle. It yelped, backing away. Another darted in, snapping at the child's leg, but the mother struck with a stick, screaming. The circle tightened. The family pressed together, forming a fragile wall of flesh and will. The hyenas laughed louder, tasting their fear. Then, chaos erupted. From the far side of the plain came a roar like thunder. A lion pride charged, golden bodies flashing, muscles rippling. They slammed into the hyena pack, teeth and claws tearing. The air became a storm of violence. Hyenas screamed, lions roared, dust rose in choking clouds. Blood splattered across the grasses. The Homo habilis seized their chance. They ran, hearts racing, their legs burning. The sounds of battle chased them, echoing in their ears long after they escaped. For the second time in a single day, the predators had turned on one another, sparing the fragile humans. The silent stalker. The sun burned high, heavy with heat. The family rested beneath an acacia tree, panting, their bodies weak with thirst. The child dozed in his mother's arms. But the leader did not rest. His eyes scanned the horizon, restless, uneasy. He knew predators moved even in daylight. And then he saw it. At first it was only a flicker in the grass, a ripple that didn't belong. Then the shape emerged. A saber-toothed cat, its body low, its gaze fixed. It was hunting them. The leader's heart hammered. He motioned for silence, his hand trembling as he lifted his stone. The others clutched sticks, though they knew it was futile. The saber-tooth crept closer, each step measured, each breath slow. Its fangs gleamed like ivory knives. Its shoulders rolled with lethal grace. The family froze, prey caught in the hunter's gaze. The beast crouched, ready to strike. And then, a new sound cut the air. Trumpets. Deep, rumbling, thunderous. From beyond the trees came a herd of giant elephants, their tusks long, their bodies massive. They moved like living mountains shaking the earth. The saber-tooth snarled, torn between prey and danger. The elephants bellowed, charging forward. The cat growled, retreating into the grass, vanishing like a ghost. The family huddled, trembling as the elephants passed, their immense shadows blotting out the sun. Once again, survival was not earned. It was borrowed from the chaos of giants. The night of fear. That night, the family climbed into another tree. The child whimpered softly, his body weak. Hunger gnawed at them all. Below, the savannah came alive. Lions roared, hyenas cackled, jackals cried. The darkness was full of eyes, glowing like embers. The leader sat awake, clutching his stone. His mind burned with thought. He was no lion. He was no saber-tooth. But he had something no beast carried. A mind that asked why, a hand that shaped tools, a will that refused to die. He tapped the stone against another, sparks flashing briefly in the dark. The others watched, silent, confused. But in that brief spark was the promise of fire. Someday, they would not only hide from predators, they would face them. But tonight, they remained in the shadows, small figures clinging to survival in a world ruled by giants. Otru, Part 3. 2 million years ago, life was not lived. It was endured. Every sunrise brought hunger. Every shadow hid predators. And yet, within the fragile hearts of Homo habilis, a quiet defiance grew. The age of giants was not forever. The wind carried with it the heavy scent of drying earth, the musk of distant herds, and the metallic tang of blood still soaking the soil from battles fought the previous nights. The Homo habilis band had survived the terror of the saber-tooth cats and the stalking of the giant crocodiles, but survival was a fragile thing. A thin thread fraying in every dawn and tightening with every dusk. They moved across the savannah in small steps, scattered like wary shadows, every adult gripping a stone or broken branch, their eyes darting across the horizon. Children clung to their mothers, silent in a way only those born into danger could learn. For Homo habilis, silence was life, noise was death, and death waited everywhere. The sun dipped low, stretching golden fingers of light over the grass. From the shadows of acacia trees, the watchers stirred. A pair of giant hyenas, jaws strong enough to splinter bone, paced slowly, their heads low, their yellow eyes locked onto the weary hominins. Unlike cats, hyenas did not stalk with silence. They laughed, a shrill, echoing sound, mocking, daring, promising the inevitability of their hunt. The sound cut through the silence, a reminder that the predators ruled these plains, not the fragile beings stumbling across it. The leader of the group, a male with a scar running down his arm from a lion swipe months earlier, hissed a warning. He lifted a sharp-edged stone, its crude flake glittering in the light. He knew, as did all of them, that their stones could not match the teeth or strength of the hyenas. But courage, or desperation, made them raise their arms anyway. The hyenas drew closer, muscles rippling under spotted fur, their jaws opening wide. And then a new sound cut across the savannah, a low growl, deep as thunder rolling across a mountain range. The hyenas froze, ears pricked, hackles bristling. The Homo habilis froze too, breath caught in their throats. From the tall grass beyond the hyenas emerged a greater terror. A male lion, his mane blackened with dust, his eyes burning with hunger. The hyenas, quick to sense their disadvantage, retreated with a chorus of jeering laughs, leaving the field to their stronger rival. The lion's gaze swept across the hominins, and in that gaze they felt the weight of ancient power. This was no chance encounter. Lions had hunted them before. Lions would hunt them again. The air crackled with fear. The leader raised his stone higher, though deep inside he knew it was futile. The lion advanced, slow, deliberate, each step heavy as a drumbeat, and then fortune, wild, chaotic fortune, intervened. A herd of wildebeest, spooked by something unseen in the distance, surged across the plain, hooves drumming like thunder. The lion, distracted by the chaos, turned his attention to the larger prize. With a snarl, he bounded into the dust storm of hooves, leaving the hominins trembling, still alive, spared by the accident of another's panic. But safety never lasted. That night, beneath a moon smudged by drifting clouds, the band huddled together. Their fire, small and weak, crackled faintly, keeping away insects but not much else. From the swampy waters nearby, something moved. The ripple of a body long, armored, and ancient. A crocodile, its jaws opening silently, crept closer to the edge where the youngest hominins crouched. The mother noticed first. Her scream split the air as the crocodile lunged, water exploding in a spray of silver. Instinct saved the child. The leader hurled a burning branch into the beast's open jaws. Fire hissed against scales, and the crocodile recoiled, thrashing back into the swamp, bellowing in pain. The band clutched each other, gasping, hearts racing. They had fought monsters before, but each encounter etched deeper into their bones the truth of their world. Every predator was a shadow at the edge of their firelight. Dawn broke with the cries of vultures circling above. Carcasses littered the plains. Gazelles brought down by cheetahs, zebras fallen to the claws of lions, bones cracked by hyenas. The Homo habilis picked through the aftermath, scavenging marrow, scraping flesh with stone tools, fighting back nausea at the stench. To survive was not to win. It was to endure, to take what was left after stronger jaws had feasted. And as they ate, as the children gnawed on bones, as the mothers whispered warning sounds, the predators watched still. The lions from the grass, the hyenas from the ridge, the crocodiles from the waters. The endless savanna was their kingdom, and Homo habilis were merely trespassers, stubborn, defiant trespassers, clinging to fire, to stone, to hope. The story of Part 4 ends with their fire smoldering at dusk, sparks drifting upward into the dark. Around them, unseen but ever present, the predators waited, patient as the earth itself. For tomorrow, the hunt would begin again. The savanna stretched out beneath a rising sun, its golden light spilling across a land alive with motion. The thunder of migrating herds, the chatter of unseen birds, the distant roar of a predator claiming its kill. For Homo habilis, each dawn was a question with no answer. Would they survive the day, or would the earth reclaim them, as it had reclaimed countless creatures before? The band stirred slowly, their bodies sore from another night spent in a cluster, pressed together for warmth, for safety, for courage. Their fire had burned low, the ashes faintly glowing, whispering of both hope and fragility. Fire had saved them from the crocodile. Fire had frightened off hyenas. But fire was greedy, it needed fuel, and in this world, fuel was scarce. The leader, his scarred arm catching the light, rose first. He scanned the horizon with eyes sharpened by fear and hunger. To the east, dust lifted into the air. A herd of antelope, restless, moving fast. To the west, circling vultures marked the remains of another predator's feast. And in between, scattered across the land, lurked the shadows of enemies. Lions slinking through grass, saber-tooth cats crouched in silence, hyenas giggling from afar. Everywhere was danger, but everywhere was also opportunity. The band moved, each step cautious but necessary. They followed the herd trails, not as hunters in strength but as scavengers in patience. A carcass left behind was treasure. Marrow and scraps of flesh meant another day of life. They were not yet the lords of this earth. They were survivors at its mercy. The day grew hotter. The savanna shimmered. Then, silence. The kind of silence that crushed the air, that signaled something was watching. The children froze. The mothers clutched them close. The men raised stones. And then, from the tall grass, the nightmare stepped forward. A saber-tooth cat, larger than any lion, its fangs gleaming like curved daggers. Its eyes burned amber, unblinking. It moved with the weightless confidence of a creature that had never known fear. Homo habilis had seen lions. They had fought hyenas. They had fled crocodiles. But the saber-tooth was something else. A predator born of shadows and death, a living blade. The leader raised a flake of stone, his arm trembling. The band shrieked in unison, their voices sharp, primal, meant not to fight but to terrify. Yet the cat did not flinch. It crouched, muscles rippling, tail twitching. In that moment, the band knew. One among them would die. The cat lunged. Chaos exploded. Screams tore the air. The band scattered, dust rising like smoke. The leader threw his stone, striking the beast's shoulder, buying a heartbeat of time. Another hurled a burning branch, sparks catching the dry grass. The cat snarled, snapping its jaws, but the sudden flames halted its charge. Fire, the only weapon stronger than tooth or claw. The cat retreated, hissing, circling. The hominins shouted louder, waving branches, raising stones. Fear had become their weapon, fire their shield. The saber-tooth, frustrated, turned its gaze elsewhere and melted back into the grass, leaving the band trembling, alive. But the danger did not end there. The fire they had lit spread quickly, leaping from grass to grass, roaring in the dry wind. Flames raced across the savanna, driving herds into panicked stampedes, scattering predators in confusion. The hominins fled too, smoke burning their lungs, eyes watering. Yet, as they ran, something happened. The fire, terrifying as it was, created a new kind of power. Animals fled before it. Even lions, even saber-tooths, even hyenas gave way to the advancing wall of flames. For the first time, Homo habilis witnessed the savanna itself bend to their will. Not by strength, not by fangs, not by claws, but by fire. When the flames finally died, the land was scarred, blackened, silent but for the crackling of dying embers. And in the ashes lay opportunity. Carcasses of smaller animals that could not flee. Roasted roots and seeds made edible by the heat. The hominins scavenged, feasting as never before. Fire had destroyed, but fire had also given. That night, beneath a sky glittering with stars, the band huddled close to their flames. They fed it carefully, learning which woods burned slow, which sparked fast. They sang in sharp cries, their voices rising with the sparks into the night. They did not yet understand what they had done. They did not yet know that in wielding fire they had crossed an invisible threshold. But history would remember. The predators still roared in the darkness. Lions still hunted. Hyenas still laughed. Crocodiles still lurked in the rivers. Saber-toothed cats still prowled the grass. Yet something had shifted. A balance had been disturbed. For the first time, these fragile beings, Homo habilis, had found a weapon not of bone or claw, but of light. And that light would change everything. The story of Homo habilis did not end here. It was only the beginning. They would face famine, storms, predators, and endless battles. But with fire in their hands, with stones sharpened, with courage bound by survival, they had begun to carve their place into the earth, a place no predator could erase. This was life 2 million years ago, where every day was a war for survival against beasts stronger, faster, and deadlier than man. Yet here, in the flicker of fire, humanity's first true weapon was born. From these fragile sparks, our story began, and the predators would never rule the same again. The night falls again, draping the African plains in its vast velvet silence. The cicadas sing their endless chorus, while the faint howl of a distant predator echoes across the horizon. The fire of the small Homo habilis clan burns low, its last sparks drifting upward into the dark, star-filled sky. Around the flames, the faces of the survivors glow faintly, eyes heavy with exhaustion, yet alive with the quiet triumph of enduring one more day. They have faced dangers beyond imagination. They have stood beneath the shadow of predators larger, faster, and stronger than themselves. Yet somehow they still remain. The Homo habilis, with their crude tools and fragile frames, are not the kings of this land, not yet. But within them lies something different from the lions, the leopards, and the saber-tooths. Something no predator, no towering beast, no raging storm can fully extinguish. That spark is memory. That spark is thought. That spark is the seed of what, one day, will grow into civilization. For now, however, their world is still a raw struggle for survival. Each dawn is uncertain. Each night could be their last. They do not know that they stand at the dawn of human history. They only know the warmth of fire, the hunger in their bellies, the closeness of family, and the ever-present eyes of predators watching in the dark. And yet, even here, even now, there is beauty. The quiet rhythm of nature surrounds them, the smell of wet earth after rain, the shimmer of moonlight on the river's surface, the tender cry of an infant wrapped in its mother's arms. Life is fragile, yes, but it is also deeply resilient. The clan huddles closer as the flames die down. The hunters sharpen their stones once more, preparing for another day. Somewhere in the distance a giant predator stirs, prowling the edges of the grasslands. The struggle will never end. But the story will continue. Because survival, in the Stone Age, was not a single battle. It was an endless chain of trials, endured night after night, generation after generation. And each spark that survives carries forward the story of humanity, long before cities, before kingdoms, before civilization itself. This was life 2 million years ago. This was Homo habilis, standing small against giants, yet unbroken. And this is where our story rests tonight. Sleep now, with the fire still glowing faintly in the dark. Rest as the ancestors once rested. And remember, the spark they carried then is the same spark that lives in us today. This was Stone Age Stories. If you enjoyed this journey into the dawn of humanity, don't forget to subscribe, share, and join us for the next chapter. Each story takes us deeper into the struggles, the triumphs, and the mysteries of our prehistoric past.